The 30-30 Club. To hit 30 nukes and swipe 30 bases in the same season? Well, it's always been an attention grabber. Sure, the rule changes this year are probably going to make this club a little less exclusive. Heck, Freddie Freeman might even go 2020 this year. And Ronald Acuna Jr.? Well, he could be in the club by the time you're seeing this video. But even as steals become less rare, and no matter how dynamic Acuna is, this would only be the second time he's accomplished this feat. So how truly special is 30-30? Well, according to Baseball Almanac, as of August 13th, 2023, there have been 20,467 Major League Baseball players. Of that number, how many do you think have had 30-30 seasons? Let me know in the comments what you guessed. But if you guessed anything over 50, I'm sorry, but no soup for you. In fact, only 43 individuals have had 30-30 seasons across baseball history. 43! But it isn't enough to just do something once. Hell, if we're talking about doing something once, we should talk about 40-40, or how about 50-50? And we might someday. But arguably, the hardest part of being a major leaguer is that it is a grind. Day after day, year after year, staying healthy. Byron Buxton can't even play center field in Minnesota anymore. It's a shame. To be dynamic is one thing, but to be consistently dynamic over the course of years, now that's a different story. So of those 43 individuals with 30-30 seasons, how many have done it in back-to-back seasons? Only 7. Elite company for sure. Remember, 20,000 plus have played Major League Baseball. So again, twice, that's nice. But what if I told you one of these players, one of these 7, put up back-to-back 30-30 seasons, not just once, but twice, and not only twice, but 4 times in 5 years, and while playing for 3 different teams, changing positions, and dealing with an age discrepancy? That's right, folks, it's time to look back at that stretch of time and the all-time good vibe that is Alfonso Soriano. Because what he did and overcame in his career, and from 2002 to 2006 in particular, might make him one of the most consistently dynamic players in baseball history. Welcome to Good Vibes Baseball. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. I do appreciate you either way. Now let's get into some good vibes, shall we? As one of the most dynamic players of the 2000s, Alfonso Soriano could take over a game with his bat or his legs. His dynamic play is actually the reason why he was the first player's jersey that I ever bought. His number 12, Yankee pinstripes and all, is still hanging in my closet today. And you know what? Fun fact for you guys, the Yankees might be my least favorite team. Sorry, Yankees fans, but I grew up watching you guys win constantly and then just try to buy everyone. Where's the fun in that? But I do appreciate their past and their rich history for developing players, and you know what? Alfonso Soriano was one of those players, even if things started off a little differently. As dynamic and insanely talented as Soriano was across his career, and the 2002 to 2006 stretch in particular, you wouldn't have guessed it by the lack of early interest coming out of the Dominican Republic. He wasn't signed by an MLB team, but instead, he went to Japan to start his baseball journey. Overlooked by MLB scouts, Soriano signed with the Nippon Professional Baseball League's Hiroshima Toyo Carp. Now, things in Japan, they didn't really work out for the young Soriano. Or did they? He only appeared in 9 games in 1997, and this was after the 1996 season where he spent the entirety in the minors. In 1997, he hit just a $118. Soriano also is quoted as saying the game was just not fun for him in Japan. It's just a little different over there. But either way, after losing in salary arbitration in 1998, Soriano followed the path of the great Hideo Nomo and retired from the NPL in order to become a free agent for MLB teams. Loophole! The Carp did threaten to sue any team that tried to sign Soriano, but that didn't scare a handful of teams, including, you guessed it, the Yankees. They signed Soriano to a 4-year deal worth $2.4 million with the promise that even if the Carp did try to sue Soriano, the Yankees, well, they would support him 100%. The evil empire's heart growing before our eyes? But with the deal in place, Soriano was ready to show why $2.4 million was a steal. He spent the 1999 season showing off his unique blend of speed and power right away. Across 3 different levels in 1999, Soriano amassed a stat line of 281 with 18 dingers, 25 steals, and an OPS of 811. Not bad for a 21-year-old. Also, keep that age in mind. It's going to come back up later. But after a stellar first season in the minors, the Yankees let Soriano marinate a little longer in AAA for his second season. He was only 2 years removed from hitting a $118 in the MPL, remember? The 2000 season was very solid for Soriano. In 111 games at AAA, he posted a .290 average with 12 home runs, 14 steals, and 32 doubles. He also threw in 6 triples just for fun. The dynamic talent was already starting to show signs of consistency. But either way, by the time September of 2000 rolled around, it was clear that Alfonso Soriano deserved his shot in pinstripes. He did actually play April and May with the Yankees, and he actually struggled that month with the Yankees, hitting only 2 dingers and swiping only 2 bags. But guys, it's Major League Baseball. It's kinda hard. And the Yankees, they would go on to win the World Series that year for their 2nd consecutive title. I think they were fine. 2001 though, that was when Soriano really started to show the world his beautiful blend of power and speed. In his first full season in pinstripes, he put up a dynamic stat line of 268 with 18 home runs, 34 doubles, and 43 steals. His 2001 season was good enough for a 3rd place finish in Rookie of the Year voting that year, but you know what? It was just the beginning. 2002 is where the good vibes really start, with Soriano's blend of power and speed on full display. Coming into the 2002 season, the New York Yankees had done the Yankee thing and signed the high-price free agent of the offseason, this year, Jason Giambi. But Alfonso Soriano, he was still expected to be a big piece of that offense, and ooh-wee, did he ever deliver. Statistically, this was Soriano's best season. He hit an even .300 that year with 39 nukes, 41 steals, 51 doubles, and 102 runs batted in to go along with an OPS of 880. His first 30-30 season, and he was just 1 home run shy of it being a 40-40 season. All while finishing 3rd in the AL MVP voting, ahead of Jason Giambi. Oh, and he's doing this as a then 24-year-old. Again though, keep that age in mind. For more context on these numbers too, his batting average, hits, doubles, runs, at-bats, and plate appearance numbers for 2002 all ended up being career highs for Soriano. And even without that final home run, Soriano's 2002 season is still just the 2nd ever 30-30 season in Yankees history. Let me say that again. In Yankees history. Fun fact, Bobby Bonds is the other Yankee to do it. But if we're going to talk about Alfonso Soriano as one of the most consistently dynamic players ever, we can't stop with one good season. Lucky for us, Soriano kept adding to the history books in 2003. After officially becoming a member of the 30-30 Club in 2002, well, the secret was out on Soriano coming into the 2003 season. He had established himself as one of the most dynamic players in baseball, but 2003, that's where Soriano began to really separate himself from the rest of the 30-30 Club. As I mentioned earlier, 43 people have had 30-30 seasons in baseball history, but only 7 have done it in back-to-back seasons. Vlad Guerrero Sr., he had back-to-back 30 seasons in 2001 and 2002. But 2003, Well, Soriano would enter the club on his own that year. His 2003 season, it wasn't as good as his 2002 season, but let's not let that take anything away from its greatness. He posted a very solid batting line of .290 with 38 home runs, 35 steals, 36 doubles, and 91 RBIs to go along with an OPS of .863. That is a career year for tons of major leaguers. But for Soriano, it's maybe his third or fourth best season. That just speaks to his consistency as a dynamic player in this game. But the 2003 season, it didn't end the way the Yankees envisioned. They lost to the Marlins in the World Series. Yes, the Marlins. And Alfonso Soriano? Well, he didn't really play that well. His career postseason numbers were actually nothing to write home about, honestly. And in Yankees country, if you don't produce in the biggest games, well, they'll find someone who will. And in this case, it came in the opportunity to trade for one of the game's biggest stars, Alex Rodriguez. A lot of folks forget that Alfonso Soriano was actually the main returning piece for the Rangers in the A-Rod deal. But coming off of back-to-back 30-30 seasons in 2002 and 2003, I think the Rangers did okay for themselves. But there's one thing about this trade that has seemingly been lost throughout time. Remember that age talk earlier? Well, Alfonso Soriano aged 2 years overnight when this trade happened. And no, I don't mean figuratively. I mean his age literally went up by 2 years from 26 to 28 after this trade. What the actual fuck?
What kind of shit is that?
So long story short, pre-September 11th, visas were easier to obtain. Well, Soriano, he had an incorrect birth year on a bio in Japan, and it just so happened to carry over to the USA when he was signed. The Rangers said that the Yankees were straightforward and had informed them that they had just not updated the bio in their official press rosters yet, but had known since the previous offseason. Again, what the actual fuck? So Soriano setting the fire to the league as a 24-year-old was actually him doing it as a 26-year-old? And he was signed by the Yankees at 23, not 21? That's some crazy shit. So, the now 28-year-old Alfonso Soriano was off to Texas, where he had a chance to set a mark that had only been done by one previous member of the 30-30 club. Entering the 2004 season, Soriano had a chance to etch his name into history even more. Up to this point, only the legend that is Barry Bonds had achieved a 30-30 season in 3 straight years. And this is way before Bonds got salty for people not appreciating his overall game and turned into the Incredible Hulk. This was just the most dynamic player in baseball history, leaving his mark on the game. Oh, Barry. But if you look back at the history books, you'll notice that Bonds is actually still alone in this category. Soriano ended up having a down year. For real though, so would I if I had aged 2 years overnight. Get sleepy, you know? And by down year, I do mean he hit .280 with 28 bombs, 18 steals, 32 doubles, and the same RBI total as the year before with 91. Baseball's hard, man, but even in a down year, he was still dynamic. He even made Rangers team history with a 6-hit game. But 6-hit game aside, that down year in 2004 is also what makes what he did the previous 2 seasons and what he's about to do the next 2 seasons even more impressive. With a year in Texas under his belt, Soriano regained his form of previous years. Now 29 after aging what feels like 3 years in just 1. Soriano rebounded excellently from his down 2004 season. He had a stat line of .268 with 36 home runs, 30 steals, 43 doubles, and 104 runs batted in. His slugging percentage, it climbed back above that 500 mark that year, and he actually led the league in power speed number with 32.7. This was Soriano's third 30-30 season in just 4 years. If that doesn't scream consistently dynamic, I'm not sure what does. Well, you know what? Soriano did, because after 2 seasons in Texas and another 30-30 season in the books, Soriano, he was traded again. But he didn't let that slow him down one bit. If anything, he decided to save the flashiest accolade for last. I'm sure at the start of this, some of you were not that impressed with the 30-30 talk. I appreciate you sticking around. And you know what? I get it. 30-30 is sort of old news when you have others who have had 40-40 seasons. Well, 2006 Alfonso Soriano, that's what you've been waiting for. Now, we aren't going to spend very much time diving deep into this season, but if you do want to watch a really great deep dive into Alfonso Soriano's forgotten 40-40 season, I definitely recommend checking out the Jolly Olives video. It's a great one. But the 2006 season would have been challenging enough for Soriano with the trade to Washington. The Nats, they were on the struggle bus those early days in their franchise history, and were looking for a dynamic spark to hopefully bring some folks out to the ballpark. But they didn't want Soriano for his second base defense. No. They decided to make him a left fielder. So not only are you going to a different team in a different league, but now you are being asked to play a new position. This is when I would expect Soriano to have that down year. Well, not so fast, my friends. Soriano was an absolute beast for the Nats in 2006. He hit .277 with 46 dingers. He swiped 41 bags that season to go along with 41 doubles and 95 runs batted in. His OPS of .911 ended up being a career high. So did the strikeouts at 160. But you know what? I could argue Soriano was at his best when he was up there just hacking and not worried about taking pitches. This was prime Alfonso Soriano, and with this 40-40 season, he not only became just the 4th person to ever do so, he became the one and only person to ever have 30-30 seasons in back-to-back years twice. After the 2006 season, Alfonso Soriano was never really the same dynamic player. He still put up some very solid power numbers, including 3 more 30-plus home run seasons, but again, baseball is hard. Age and injuries will catch up to everyone. So where does Alfonso Soriano stack up amongst the others in this elite 30-30 club? Does what he accomplished in his career really make him one of the most consistently dynamic players in baseball history? Well, looking back to the others in this group, I really only think the 2 that could take that crown? The Bonds boys. Bobby and Barry Bonds are the most dynamic father-son duo in MLB history. Injuries are an unfortunate part of the game, but they are a part of it. Who knows where Ken Griffey Jr. ends up if injuries don't get in the way. Even currently, Ronald Acuna Jr. blows an ACL and misses a year. You can't go back-to-back 30-30 if you miss a season. So looking at what Bobby and Barry Bonds each did over the course of their careers is just insane. Imagine if Barry would have just kept on the path he was on. Could have been the most dynamic player by the numbers ever. No, Soriano was not Barry Bonds, but he did have back-to-back 30-30 seasons. Twice. Something Barry, he never did. And Soriano, he did all of it while playing for 3 different teams, across 2 different leagues, while changing positions. Oh, and he aged 2 years overnight in the midst of all of it. Not too bad for a kid who had to go to Japan to even get his foot in the Yankees' door. But that's going to do it for today, baseball fans. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Again, please consider subscribing if you haven't. Helps us out a ton. But until next time, baseball fans, cheers!